On Yungabuja, this is Afternoons with Christine on ABC Radio Perth.
All right, it's 2:15. Australian of the Year Dylan Alcott has pledged to spend the next 12 months and beyond working to increase the number of people with disabilities in work. This is part of his acceptance speech from last week.
Of those 4.5 million people, only 54% of them are involved in the workforce. Unemployment rate is double that of able-bodied people. Both figures haven't moved in 30 years. And guess what? We're not just ready to work, we're ready to take your jobs, all right? We are coming. We are coming. But we're going to get those opportunities.
So that was Dylan Alcott. He was met with applause. So what would it take for your business to take on someone with a disability? And if you've been trying to find work yourself, what are the barriers here in WA and in Perth? Let's hear from Michelle O'Sullivan. Now, she's based in Esperance and helped her son Devon to start his own micro business there. Devon has autism spectrum disorder and uses an app on his iPad to communicate. You're going to hear his responses to some of our questions in a moment. Good afternoon, Michelle.
Hi, Christine.
Thanks for coming in. Can you tell us a bit about the micro business and why that was the best option for Devon?
Okay, I would be happy to. We explored the process of going through a disability employment agency. However, with Devon's individual challenges, the normal or the usual processes were always going to be a bit difficult to navigate. So we were really lucky to attend a presentation from Mark and Anthea Lima from CamCan when Devon was about 14, and they talked about the micro business that they'd set up for their son Cam based on his strengths and his interests. So as a family, our really simple goal for Devon has always been to be included in family, friends, school, sport, work and the community.
Yeah.
And so we worked really hard to support him to get out into his community, and that's why the micro business was the best match for him, because we developed starting in year 10 through year 11 and 12, and the business rolled out when he finished school with the support of Esperance Senior High School and GIFSA, which is a support agency.
So what does he do?
So he does deliveries, and it actually has evolved over time, because we sort of started out with the idea of doing shredding and doing mail deliveries, and then thinking about what else we could add to keep him busy, because he loves to be busy and to see different places in Esperance. So we thought coffee would be a great way to add to his job role, and now that's his favourite part. He loves to deliver coffee, and everyone loves to obviously have their coffee dropped off from him.
I was going to say he would have a lot of happy customers, and what a great way to explore the region and to get to know people as well. Is he a man about town now?
Yes, he is. We're so lucky to have such great support from the Esperance community. They, honestly love him and support him and his business, in so many ways. We've actually been able to employ another person with a disability, Josh, to work on the shredding part of the business, because Devon's so busy with the deliveries. And that's his favourite part. So this all works obviously on Devon's strengths and his interests and what he prefers to do. So, he really loves to visit different places in Esperance and see people, and he's actually learnt all his roles so well that, he's fully independent with his support person and busy every day.
Well, I want to hear from him now. You went to the effort of recording his answers, and if you have just tuned in, it's nearly 20 minutes past 2. My guest is Michelle O'Sullivan from Esperance, who helped her son Devon to start a micro business. So I will start with the audio of Devon introducing himself and talking about the work he'd like to be doing if he didn't have his own business. Have a listen.
Hi, my name is Devon O'Sullivan. My mum has helped me with my answers, cause she supports me with my device. I like music and painting, so maybe something with that. Delivering things to people is pretty cool too.
It is indeed. Michelle, he is just remarkable. You also asked Devon about the skills he can offer as an employee, and I really liked this answer. Have a listen.
I am very focused on my job. I don't stop to chat as I can't talk much. I think I am also good at remembering routines once I learn what I need to do.
Yeah, he knows his strengths, doesn't he, Michelle?
He sure does, and I think, that's a really key part of people and businesses being open to employing people with disabilities. They have so many unique, strengths. They're loyal, they're hardworking, they're detail-focused, and that's one thing Devon is for sure, and really resilient. They have to overcome a lot of challenges in their life. And so, they appreciate every opportunity they're given. And I think, like you mentioned at the start of the program, it would be great to see more businesses be prepared to take on someone with a disability to fill key roles in there, especially at the moment with the skills shortage.
Yes. Let's talk about that. I'll play one last bit of Devon, just summarising how he feels about Dylan Alcott being named Australian of the Year, and then I'm keen to get your thoughts, Michelle.
Hopeful that if Dylan can live his best life, then I can too. My friend Josh said, just give us a chance, and I think he is right.
He is right. So, Michelle, what do you want to see from government in this space?
Look, I think there'd be so many ways that government could really help and support further employment for people with disabilities by definitely leading the way in actually opening up some key roles in the different government departments, just like what families are doing with this micro-business model. And also providing easier means for especially individuals with intellectual disabilities to apply for positions. Actually being able to go online and doing the application process can be really, really tricky. So I think actually, making that whole process easier would really help. And I think, with Dylan Alcott making employment a focus for the next 12 months, I really hope that governments just get on board and really talk to people with disabilities, because they know what's going to work best for them, and really make that a focus. And it's just giving lots of people hope, I think, that a conversation's going to happen.
I remember speaking to the creator of the Autism Academy here in Perth, and Alexandra Helens came on the program as well. She's the chair of neurodiversity at BHP, and she said that, they have created a program to hire people with specific skills, and they just do the job better than some others. So it's a matter of setting it all up, isn't it? What would you say to employers? How do they practically tap into this market here in WA?
Well, I think, assumptions are actually the biggest barrier to employment. Thinking that an individual couldn't possibly do that job without actually knowing that person and what they are capable of if given an opportunity. I think actually, having conversations, talking to key people, finding someone in their local community. Obviously, we're in rural WA, and, we know lots of people in Esperance because it's a very welcoming community, and we've just joined up with lots of local businesses that have really helped and wanting to get on board. And I think, having those conversations and really, finding someone that you think might be able to fill a small role in your business, especially hospitality. There's lots of roles that individuals could learn and be able to complete. So, yeah, give people a go.
I've got a lot of texts coming through now, Michelle. This one, my name is Alexia. I'm from Perth. I now have a part-time job in hospitality thanks to the Autism Association. This took a long time to find, as many employers don't want to employ someone like me. Thank you, Alexia. This text, I agree with age and gender sometimes being an issue with regards to applying for jobs in WA. Maybe it's unintentional, but despite experience and enthusiasm, it seems to be a barrier. And I've got Matt from Perth who's called up to share his experience being a parent of a child with an intellectual disability. Hello, Matt.
G'day, how are you going?
Really well. Can you tell me what it's been like, the employment market?
Yeah, it's been quite difficult, quite frankly. I've got to at the start give plaudits to Kmart, who did give our daughter and has worked with her to create a very successful, and it's now been about 3 years, position where she works part-time.
Great.
And looking for more work has been the most disappointing stuff, particularly with the government. We approached the government department, I did in writing, some time ago, and you start with the point you don't get your letters answered. You have to follow up, and then you get positive indications. But I've been in a year of correspondence with the Department of Biodiversity and Conservation to be finally told just before Christmas that they weren't going to proceed with anything. And the problem is having a child with an intellectual disability, because when I contacted the Minister's office, they told me that she should just create a profile and go through the job sector. Now that the government job search thing, that is simply never going to work with a kid with an intellectual disability.
No, it's a very
and I've
limited
repeatedly
website.
asked for what is the pathway for a kid with an intellectual disability to get employment in government, and never received an answer.
Wow.
And that's the most frustrating thing.
Matt, I want you to hear my next caller, and Michelle, I've still got you there as well. Brooke
Yep.
Draper is from Ability WA, and I'm very keen to get Brooke's take on this. Hello, Brooke.
Hi, how you going?
Good. Now, you've been listening to this conversation. What would you say to Matt?
Yeah, look, it's so probably just a couple of things. We at Ability WA we work as an employment service provider, and we also provide supported employment. Some of the challenges that you have often, Matt, through government is finding the right people to have those conversations with, and I guess I would urge you to connect with organisations to be able to support some of those conversations as well. A bit disappointing to hear that was sort of the outcome that you've had, and I can understand the frustration, in your voice there of I guess constant dead ends, which is something that we certainly hear a lot of.
When you say connect with organisations, Brooke, do you mean specific state government organisations that she might be interested or they might be interested working in? What do you mean by that?
No, I'm talking more about organisations like ourselves.
Right, with you. Gotcha.
That have connections. So we do a reasonable amount of work with organisations such as the Water Corp and some other bigger businesses in that space, and provide, I guess, that nurturing or that support, for people to transition to employment. So that's what I would suggest, that you have a look to connect with organisations like ourselves.
All right, Matt, have you tried...
Just for your information,
Yeah.
we do work with such an organisation, but my point is this: there has to be a pathway into government employment, and it's a point that Michelle's pointed to also. The pathway for kids with intellectual disabilities simply doesn't exist. You should be able to go with a kid with an intellectual disability and have somebody in government who can direct you or work with you to find employment for them. If they're serious about their targets, they need to address this issue. I do know that DPCA, that department has a disability employment evaluation, but that simply doesn't get you in the door.
Okay.
I have worked with organisations like your own, and we offered to go to the government department with such assistance to help them and almost train them how to work with somebody with an intellectual disability. But yeah, my frustration is genuine, because there simply isn't a pathway. You don't know who to contact in government to exercise that.
Yep, okay, I understand what you're saying, Matt. So there's targets and there's no action. Brooke, what do people need to consider if they are an employer and they are serious about actioning these targets that are so often brought up at meetings and, not always executed? What would you say to them?
Yeah, look, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. So, if people organisations are looking for, and it's not about targets, it's about providing meaningful employment opportunities for all people within our community. And so, I guess my advice to employers would be, we're in a situation now where there is shortage of, what is perceived shortage in the community of workers. Yet we have a large cohort of people with disabilities that are really wanting to work and get out there. It means for businesses that they need to think differently. So the stock standard, advertise your position and hope you get the right candidate doesn't work. It doesn't always work that way, and people need to take an individualised approach. So that might mean different interviewing techniques. It might mean connecting with organisations and upskilling their HR departments to think differently and do things differently.
All of which needs to be done before you actually need an employee. I guess there's a lot of preamble. You're hearing the voice of Brooke Draper from Ability WA. You heard from Matt, who's a parent of a child with an intellectual disability, and Michelle O'Sullivan is in our Esperance studios. She helped her son Devon set up his own micro business. You've been listening to all of this, Michelle. What are your thoughts?
Oh, look, I totally agree, obviously, with Matt and with Brooke. And I really like Brooke's point that, if you've got a business, especially in rural WA, where often there aren't agencies to support people, like often it is families that are doing the groundwork and really trying to find employment for their loved ones in their local community. And I think exactly right. If an employer has actually thought about what specific roles they might have, that a person with a disability doesn't have to do all the roles, but they can actually take on key jobs, and then frees up other employees to do other parts of the business. So that's what a micro business is, basically looking at what key roles can the person do, what is their interest, how can they help others, and freeing up further staff. And also, people with disabilities often have a support person going with them to give them extra support during training and learning the roles. So you're often getting, two potential people within your business. And I think you need to look outside the box. I totally agree. The employers do really need to, think differently about how they
get on the front foot.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, it's been really good to hear from you, Michelle. Thank you so much for coming on.
That's okay. And Devon says hi too, even though he's not in the studio today.
Please thank Devon for putting together the answers to those questions. And I'm sure that when people see him out and about in Esperance, he'll get a few extra waves.
I'm sure he will. He's a popular man.
Well, you would be if you're bringing everyone their coffees. They'd be happy afterwards. Thank you, Michelle. And Brooke, before you go, you've been out and about today. Are you at Containers for Change? I meant to ask you at the start. What are you up to?
Yeah, I'm out at one of our. So we run 3 Containers for Change sites, which we provide both supports in employment, so a quite intense supported employment model, but also provide open employment opportunities for people with disabilities as well. So, yeah, I'm actually on site at the moment, watching our team do everything from customer service to counting containers to cash handling, the whole lot. So that's the other thing to the community, get out there and get behind people that are working in the community as well.
That's brilliant. Well, Brooke, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us. Nice to speak to you.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
Brooke Draper, Ability WA. We've been talking about what it's like to get a job if you have a disability.